Yeshua, your King of praise. Shalom, everyone. This is Messianic Rabbi Buzz Tremé, the Jew teaching you. Welcome to our Bible study. Yeshua, you are the way. Yeshua.
Okay, folks, we asked the Lord to be here with us, and I think He is. So, we are studying the covenants and the timeline of human history from eternity through time at the first day, all through the calling of the nations, the calling of Israel, and then the new covenant being given to Israel. And then this is just sort of in here it's the only place I had on this side of the board. And it's just warnings against getting into legalism or getting sucked into putting yourself under the law. We love the law. The law is beautiful because it's a picture and an instruction of that led the people to Messiah. But we're not under it. We can participate in lots of it, but we're not under it. And you got to be careful, because if you do, you'll be fascinated with it, and then you'll participate in it. And then you'll be captivated by it, and then you'll be frustrated, and then you'll be suffocated. The Spirit will be gone, and you'll be into a ritual. So that is here because I didn't have a place to put it except here. But actually in time, now this is eternity. All of this is eternity, and this is beginning in eternity. Paul says this plan of God was instituted before time began. A good place for that is Titus chapter 1, verse 2. And then in 1 Corinthians 2, one of the verses, Paul says it was before time that God determined this. So, Yeshua existed before he was man. Very important to understand. Correct theology will help you live a true life in relationship to the Lord. So, the pre-incarnate Yeshua, who was not the man that came from Mary's womb, the first century Galilean Jewish king who was rejected by the nation. Anyway, that person was in another form and pre-existed with the Father, and the Father the best way we could call him would be Yahweh. Yahweh, Yod-He, Vav-He is the Hebrew word. I think I wrote it somewhere. This is Yeshua in Hebrew. But anyway, the idea is he was with the Father, and they determined this covenant. Yeshua said, when you're ready, after you start making man and you set this thing in motion, I'll go in and become one of them and redeem the whole thing, which will redeem the universe. So this is the plan. So he goes into time. And we have the Edenic covenant. We know what took place there. We have the Adamic covenant after the fall, after sin enters the world. And remember what we've taught. Sin was in the creation before it entered the world. And we can see it quite clearly. We know the Bible says sin entered the world through one man. That man is Adam. Well, we know his wife sinned before he did. We know the serpent sinned before that. And we know that from history and from studying the earth and the creation that dinosaurs lived and ancient creatures, and it's interesting, they all died. And you can't have death if you don't have sin. So the creation was damaged, and the plan to restore it was by this council here, which established what we call the eternal covenant. And then God made man after the first day. You know, we know the day. Time has always existed in eternity, but now it's set up a special timeline where humans can be measured, their activities can be measured. So the Edenic covenant, God reveals his covenant plans that he established with himself concerning man. Now he reveals them to man. Man is given a test. He has to become like God, though. We have to understand that. If you're going to make a human species in your image and your likeness, you can't stop with them being ignorant of knowledge of good and evil. Because if they're going to be like the Father, they're going to know the knowledge of good and evil. When you get to the end of the human experience down here, as we get ready to go into eternity, glorified by the resurrection through Yeshua, when you get there, you find out that man did get made in the image and likeness of God, and he has a full understanding of what evil is. And we often think, well, God did it all back here in Eden when he made man in his image and likeness. The Bible says in Hebrews, it says this was finished, his work was finished from the beginning. And this is a Hebrew way of speaking, saying, God said it, you can bank on it, you can book on it, you can count on it because it will come to pass. So we see that man never had the full image and likeness of God. But once he resurrects, he will be like the one who is the exact image and likeness of God, and that's the Son of God, Yeshua. So in the end, God will have made man in his likeness and in his image. And, that's the whole plan that God is after. Isn't that good stuff? So he revealed himself in time. So remember, we act like in eternity everything was just like there was no recognition of anything happening. And that's really silly. But the universe existed. Lots of things were going on. First of all, God made it. And the molecules, the elements, he made the nucleus of the atom and put the electrons and the protons around it. I mean, this is amazing God. And the universe is big, if you didn't know that. It's huge. And God did all of this. So then he makes man. But he did it in response to the need of the universe, which was some of his beings, not man, who wasn't made yet, but some of his beings began to express their own will, which was contrary to his will. He did not panic. He simply held a council and said to the pre-incarnate Yeshua, the Son of God, would you like to... I left my pen in the car. Oh. I don't know where they are, but they're somewhere around here. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No.
Pen in the car. I went and got a notebook, clothes.
Hey, I think maybe in there.
I'm sorry. Dude.
No, that's okay. Look at all this. There's pens, and I hope something ought to work. Sorry. And so he'll edit this later and fix it. So anyway, so the incarnate Christ, Yeshua, the anointed one, he was determined before time began. Very important to get that. And so what was the purpose in this making man? So that God would have a ruler, and this ruler would be God's heir. So the heir is a multiplicity of beings that are all of the same substance as the one who brought them forth. And they were made in the natural of the earth, but later remade in the likeness of the man from above. So when it's all said and done, heaven and earth are connected, and all is pure, and the wicked are cast out into a lake of fire. And it's literally a place of eternal torment to remind the universe and its billions of years from now future, to remind the inhabitants, in case you were thinking about rebelling against the creator of the universe, just take a listen and you'll hear the cries. And never again will anybody attempt a coup against God. So the one who did lead the rebellion, God didn't panic and dethrone him, began to work out a plan to dethrone him. His name is or his title is Satan. Satan in English. And usually he's referred to as Ha-Satan, the opponent, the adversary. Now, people like to say his name was in the Bible, it was Lucifer and this and that. Commentaries don't say that. Nobody says that. And if you'll study history, that was the King James Bible copying the Latin word, because the King James Bible is basically the Roman Catholic Bible, the Latin Vulgate, written into a fancy English language. So they copied the word for Satan from for Lucifer, which was the Latin word for what? The morning star. Nothing spiritual about this. So the scriptures that people have in modern times have pulled out these scriptures, said, well, this was Satan before he fell. That's hogwash. I hate to say it. Study it, look into it with an open mind, and you'll see. The name of the devil does not get into God's holy Bible. Only this title that is given to him, which is the adversary. He's not worthy enough to have his Bible. And so the morning star was a figure of the Babylonian king. And that's what it says right there in the Bible, the king of Babylon. And anyhow, so I don't want to go too far there, but we need to understand and quit generating ideas that are not scriptural, because people put their faith in that. Have you heard Benny Hinn, Creflo Dollar? Y'all know these guys? They've got big names. They've made lots of money off the gospel. Do you know that they are publicly repenting? Publicly saying, do not read any of our previous work. It is all wrong. It's not the gospel. We've sinned against God and we're begging for forgiveness. Please destroy all of the works that they did. Now, this tells you that we're in a time where somebody, and I don't know a whole lot about that, but I have heard the reports, and several people talking about what they're. I read some articles, Benny Hinn's thing. Now, the point is, and I'm not knocking anybody. I'm saying it's easy to take some idea and make it into a gospel, especially if it begins to flourish. We want to flourish. We want to have lots of fruit. We want to have great things happen. But if it's based on something natural, you're missing it. What if I'll just pick Dennis, he's good. What if I pick this guy over here and I heard that he had lots of money and he did real well? He was, what if I began to become his friend and include him in my teachings and so on? But all along, really, why was I doing it? Not because I liked him or because I cared that much about his soul, just simply because I knew I'd have a better life if he gave me his money. I'm trying to be as real about this. Well, this practice got all into Christianity, especially in America, in the United States, because we're money and pleasure conscious, and we have schemes. We take pyramid schemes and bring them into the kingdom. Woo! I mean, look, we will all stand before this God, this Yeshua, and I don't think you're going to see a little lamb there going, well, it's okay. You're going to see the wrath of God. We can't. The point is, I love Dennis because he's married to Sue. I love Dennis because he's a fine man, a man of God, and he's a man of character. So, but if you want to give me your money, Dennis, I'll take it. I'm just being silly there. Anyway, point is, we don't need to build on ideas that are not scriptural. So, someone that is well respected, when we were having the meetings at the barn, he said, you telling me that Lucifer is not Satan? And I said, absolutely not. And he said, I can't believe you're saying that. I've got 2 or 3 theological degrees, and I'm going to look this up. I said, it's modern teaching, and just like a lot of stuff, it is not biblical based. And I said, that guy doesn't even deserve to get his name in the Bible. So he pulls it up and he says, here's Matthew Henry. He's on his phone. He says, I got Matthew Henry's commentary. I said, well, you would go to the 1700s. I'm just kind of like, why don't you? There's all these commentaries out there today of theologians that study the ancient documents. And he goes, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I said, what? He said, Matthew Henry says this is in no way Satan. He said he's agreeing with you. I said, I always liked Matthew Henry. So, point in mind is he started looking at all these other ones, commentaries, and he's going, my God, Buzz, I've just heard it, and it just, you just listen. I said, I've heard everything, but man, I also heard, and I realized along the journey, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I said, man, there's only one right, and we've got to get from him what he gives truth, but you have to sometimes go back a little further and go, oh, here's where the road wide, it veered, it divided, and we went off this way, like these guys I was just mentioning that are recanting their teaching. They're saying, hey, I was wrong. Somebody posted on there, are you going to give up your mansions? Because, we're talking about $1 million homes, a lot of them, because you're a preacher that can get. Anyway, I guess when you start getting older, you get a little more serious about God. Huh?